like to bring to order the Board of Adjustment for the Town of Ocean View. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And excuse me. Before we start the official meeting, we have a new member of the board. And Madam Solicitor, if you would swear in our new member, please.
Certainly.
Sir.
Mr. Gailey, we're going to go right down here in the front, okay? Right there. Face everybody. She's going to hold a Bible. She's right hand on the Bible and push it up in. Okay. I, Ron Gailey, do proudly swear to carry out the responsibilities of the office of the Ocean View Board of Adjustment to the best of my ability, freely acknowledging that the powers of this office flow from the people I am privileged to represent. I further swear always to place the public interest above any special or personal interest, and to respect the right of future generations to share the rich, historic, and natural heritage of Delaware. In doing so, I will always uphold and defend the constitutions of my country and my state, so help me God. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Just two other housekeeping details. Please turn off your cell phones. Okay, number one. And did everyone sign in? The sign-in sheet is at the very back table at the door. Okay, gentlemen, may I have approval of the agenda?
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried. May I have approval of the minutes of the July 20th meeting of the Board of Adjustment?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried. Mr. Simoneau, are you
Yep.
ready to present your?
Yes.
Okay.
Application V449 submitted by the applicant WN Builders Incorporated on behalf of the property owner Jonathan DeCanio for property zoned R1 Single Family Residential District located at 32 Hudson Avenue, PIDN 099.150, County Tax Map number 134-12-1544. The property owner is seeking a variance from Article 5, Section 140-28, in order for all existing buildings and structures on the lot to exceed the maximum allowed lot coverage of 35%. Additionally, the property owner seeks a variance from Article 16, 140-100-D, 12B4, and Article 2, Section 187-10-A, in order for an existing driveway to exceed the maximum allowable width of 20 feet through the right-of-way.
Thank you.
I think we'll start off by reading the Board of Adjustment standards for relief, the questionnaire. Question number 1, uniqueness. You have a unique circumstance or condition such as irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of lot size or shape, or exceptional topographical or other physical condition peculiar to the property. If so, please explain. The applicant responded, "We were unaware that our contractor overbuilt the driveway. We, the homeowners, were under the impression the size of the driveway was fine. We were also unaware that the walkway on the side of the house was 4% over the allowance. This was brought to our attention when the house was completed and we opted to have the variance hearing opposed to tearing out the concrete." 1B, is there an exceptional practical difficulty due to such unique condition and not related to general circumstances or conditions? If yes, please explain. Yes, we would be required to cut the driveway down 3.25 feet on each side and cut out the concrete sidewalk. We, the homeowners, would prefer not to have to do that. Question 2, possibility of development. A, can the property be developed in strict conformity with the zoning ordinance without a variance? The applicant responded yes. B, is a variance necessary to enable reasonable use of the property? The applicant responded yes. 3, has the difficulty been created by the applicant? The applicant responded yes. 4, will the variance alter the essential character of the neighborhood? The applicant responded no. After we realized that we overbuilt the driveway, we noticed the neighbors' driveways were much bigger than allowed by the code. B, 4B, will the variance substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use for development of adjacent properties? The applicant responded no. It would not affect any of the adjacent properties once it does not cause any changes to any adjacent property, directly or indirectly. C, will the variance be detrimental to public welfare? The applicant responded no. The variance will only affect positively the homeowners. 5, extend the variance. A, will the variance represent the least modification possible of regulations at issue? Yes. I think this says once the material proposed is the same and the location of the driveway is also the same. B, is the variance necessary to afford relief? The applicant responded yes. C, will the variance represent the least modification possible of regulations at issue? The applicant responded yes. At this time, the town would like the opportunity to offer comments on the questionnaire and on the plan.
Yes, okay.
If you go to the blown up approved site plan, I believe it's in your packet. The very first note, proposed lot coverage, 3,812 square feet or 35%. Then it breaks down the dwelling, 3,048 square feet, which is 28%. The driveway is 669 square feet, which is 6%. And the walkway, 95 square feet, which is 1%. This was the approved site plan prior to construction. There's a note on this plan that says this development plan maximizes the allowable lot coverage for this lot. Any future addition of any impervious cover will require a variance from the Town of Ocean View Board of Adjustment. Well, obviously the builder didn't come in and request a variance. The second thing I want to note is the sidewalk is not shown on this approved site plan. There is no sidewalk shown to be constructed. The third thing I want to point out is the width of the driveway shown is 19.5 feet on this approved site plan, pre-construction. Post-construction, on the as-built, the driveway width is approximately 26.5 feet. The lot coverage is 39.9%, which is 4.9%, or round up, just about 5% over. The second thing I want to point out is there's nothing unique about this lot. The questionnaire says, do you have unique circumstances or conditions, such as an irregularity, narrowness or shallowness of the lot size or shape? This lot is almost a perfect rectangle, 100 feet by 107 feet, plus or minus a few tenths. The applicant says that the property can be developed in strict conformity without a variance. I have to disagree about the property, is a variance necessary to enable reasonable use of the property. I don't know, reasonable use, I don't know whether that's really a factual statement. Has the difficulty been created by the applicant? Yes. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to offer the Office of Planning and Development's recommendation with respect to variance number 1. Note 1 on the approved site plan specifically reads, this development plan maximizes the allowable lot coverage for this lot. Any future addition of any impervious lot coverage will require a variance from the Town of Ocean View Board of Adjustment. The builder should have applied for this variance prior to construction of the sidewalk along the side dwelling unit and prior to constructing driveway wider than 20 feet. In home construction or any construction, you build from the ground up. You grade the lot, you clear it, you put the foundation in, you put your subfloor in, then you start constructing your walls. You construct your roof features, your trusses, then the roof goes on, the shell of the house goes on. The last things to be constructed on a home lot in residential constructions is the flat work, the driveway, sidewalks, and the final grading. This house took many months to construct. No attempt was made by this builder to approach the Board of Adjustments and seek a variance prior to construction of the sidewalk and prior to widening this driveway. With respect to variance number 2, my only comment is the builder should have applied for this variance prior to constructing the driveway wider than 20 feet. And that's all I have to offer.
Gentlemen? Any questions?
Is there someone to make a comment?
Well, we need to give the applicant the opportunity to speak. Yes, and then we'll take comments after the applicant speaks. So, who is the applicant? Hi. Can you come and introduce yourself and then make your comments?
My name is Jonathan DeCanio. I'm the owner, and really the only comment I have is
Doesn't he be sworn in?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Canino. Do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth before the board today?
yes.
All right, thank you.
So basically, this was brought to our attention when I was trying to get the CO for the loan, and I talked to my builder. My builder said that they overpoured the driveway and we could apply for a variance. So when that was brought to our attention, we applied for the variance, and here we are. I'm not sure like all the details. Again, I'm not the builder. I'm just the homeowner. And you know, when I was given the opportunity to apply for a variance, we did. I got my neighbors here to support me. I got a couple letters from neighbors. Nobody seems to have a problem with it. And you know, I would like to get the variance to avoid having to go through more construction and rip out concrete and whatnot. So that's pretty much my only comments on it.
Question before?
If I may, you're the owner, so you would be bearing the cost of anything torn up or had to be reconfigured, or would be the builder?
I believe I would.
So, the site plan that the builder was supposed to build to, however, didn't include these items, right?
No, it didn't include a 26.5-foot wide sidewalk. It didn't show driveway, 26.5-foot wide driveway. It didn't show any sidewalk around the side of the dwelling unit. And I did speak to Mr. DeCanio on the phone, and I did tell him if we issue you a temp CO for these items and you did not get the variance or didn't get the flood certificate that he also needed that he got at the time that we spoke, that you would be on the hook as the owner, because your bank's going to clear this note and you're going to be on the hook for making the repairs.
I have a question, I guess it's somewhat of a comment. When I read this the first time, I thought, well, is this a question of asking forgiveness as opposed to asking permission? And I'm not speaking directly to you, because obviously you weren't necessarily aware of what had happened. So my question is, I don't understand how, one, the builder made this very big mistake, and two, why you end up having, I understand what Mr. Semino said, but it seems to me that the builder would be the one that should incur the cost on this.
Right. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. The only thing that, it was brought to our attention so late. The driveway had been poured months ago, okay? And we didn't hear about this till a week before I was trying to get my CO. And then this came up, and our builder mentioned it to us, and he said we should apply for a variance. As far as, I mean, if this was done and brought to our attention 4 months ago, you know, maybe we could have, you know, figured out with the builder, got it all cut out and everything, but to my knowledge, it was brought to everyone's attention very late in the final stages of the build.
Has the builder even offered any compensation?
We wanted to see what happens in the variance hearing.
If I may, it was brought to our attention through our regular process when a site plan is submitted and it's approved and the contractor says they're gonna build A. When they're finished building, they submit an as-built construction drawing of what they actually built. And in this case, it showed they didn't build A, they built B. And that's why it was months after. We don't go out and inspect every aspect of a project every time they're doing something.
Mr. Semino, just so I'm understanding the facts, there was nothing pre-approved for a sidewalk, and then the driveway wound up being built much larger than it was authorized to be built, is that correct?
There was no pre-approval for a sidewalk from the driveway around the side of the dwelling unit to the AC units. It was not on the approved site plan, and the approved site plan showed a 19.5 foot wide driveway as right of way.
Okay, so again, just one more time, nothing approved the sidewalk, and the driveway wound up much larger than 19.5 foot authorized. Is
That's
that
correct.
Okay.
Ken, if the sidewalk was removed, how closer to the 35% would they be? Did you figure that?
I
Yes,
did.
It was, where is it?
I did do some brief numbers on it. It doesn't.
1%?
The driveway,
Driveway
The
is
driveway's not,
6.
the sidewalk's not 4%.
1.
Yeah, the bulk of it's the driveway. The driveway is a little more than 6 feet wider than it should be at 15 feet. It's the 15 feet by 6.5 feet. That's the bulk of the overage. But both of them combined put you at 4.9. They were right at 35% with their approved site plan. I mean, it's unfortunate for this homeowner that somehow the builder ended up building a sidewalk that wasn't on the plans. I don't know how that happened. I can understand that the driveway, somehow they managed to build a driveway 6 feet wider, but usually I don't really see how the builder constructed an entire segment of sidewalk that wasn't shown on the plans unless they just can't read plans.
And again, I was unaware of all this, and I could see it, the driveway was much larger than my neighbors and whatnot, but there's people on my street with driveways that are 50 feet wide.
So
And-
in reference to your comment, we had a code change in 2013, and some of those homes on your street are very old, and there was not a driveway maximum width prior to 2013. So that may be the case with some of those driveways.
Right.
I
But it
don't have
doesn't
detailed
look
info.
abnormal, my driveway being,
I don't have detailed, intimate knowledge of every driveway on your street,
right.
but that certainly could be the case by some of them, especially one 2 doors down from you that's all concrete, that sits right next to the culvert. That's
Yeah,
extremely wide.
50 feet wide.
But that
yeah.
house was built in 1992.
Right. Right. And then, you know,
Before the code had these types of standards.
right. I mean, if there was anyone in my neighborhood opposing it, I would understand, and I mean, I have a bunch of people here, I brought in 8 letters from all my surrounding neighbors, nobody seems to have a problem with it, and, you know, I think the house looks great as it is. The last thing we wanna do is rip up concrete and go through that whole process. So,
Who is your builder?
WN Builders out of Lewis. And I don't think they've built before in Ocean View. That's one issue.
But that is their responsibility to know
Right.
the variances before they start,
Right.
correct? I mean, you as the citizen, I understand, would not know all the variances of which we're speaking,
Right.
but it should be the builder's problem
Mhm.
to know that. Gentlemen, other questions?
I had a question about the driveways, which Ken answered. But is there does the town itself have any authority, any legal ability to do something about this builder? Not grant him any
Town council.
additional building permits in the town? I mean,
The town council can, we can, the town council, if they so choose, can revoke this builder's business license in the town of Ocean View per the
You know,
town's charter.
Can I comment on, the builder has been great with us, right? And he offered to pay for the variance hearing so we could come in here and figure out if we could get the variance. If not, we'll come to the conclusion. The builder's been great, okay? I know he's had some issues with some people in the town about a few things, and, you know, all I could say is good things about our builder, and I would not like to, see that happen.
I have a question for you. You are aware of the approved site plan, right?
I mean, as much as, I didn't go over the site plan,
You look-
in great detail.
Did you have an
Yeah.
opportunity to look at the approved site plan?
Right.
Okay.
No, I mean, I didn't look at the site plan. I'm not a builder. That's not my lane.
I understand
Yeah.
that. But it does, I don't think you have to be a builder to see what the width of the
Can we give him the
driveway
benefit, Mr. Galley, I'm sorry, can we give him the benefit of showing him what it was, just to even see if he saw this before, did you see this plan ever? Just so we can establish this on the record. That's what your
No, I
builder
haven't.
submitted as your site plan.
You
No,
never,
I haven't seen it.
you never,
Okay.
the builder didn't show you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear on the record.
So you never did see that?
No.
So you had no idea,
I had no idea until a week before, when we were trying to get our
Excuse
CO.
Excuse me, sir.
When I was trying to get my CO and we ran into this issue, I did call Ken directly because him and my builder did not seem to get along. And I asked him, what steps to take. And, is it Greg? The guy that works for you? Greg?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Greg, he kind of walked me through the process and told me what I need to do and told me that the best, with the time that I had was to apply for a variance. Hopefully they'll issue me the temporary CO, which they did, instead of, I didn't have time, to be honest, to rip out the driveway and do all that because the bank, I had a week before I had to get the paperwork in.
so Ken, the builder submits the site plan, correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
The builder's surveyor submits the site plan.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to get at is how can the customer, the resident, future resident, how does he come into play as to know what's being built on your lot?
You asking me
Yes.
or Ken?
I think they should know what they contracted to build. I mean, if I'm building a house and the sidewalk appears on the side of my house, I'm like, well, why'd you build this? I didn't ask you to build this, and are you charging me for it? I would think,
Guys,
you
excuse me,
have
would
one
you come to the
homeowner
podium?
would know what they contracted, a builder, especially a one-off like this. It's not like it's in a development where you have a large home builder building hundreds of homes and you're getting models of cookie cutter homes. This is a home that was a one-off by, I'm guessing, a custom home builder or whoever they chose. So they had to pick out a lot of these features. They had to go over what was being constructed in order to sign a contract to construct it.
So to come full circle on the conversation, you started out by saying this was a surprise to you.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Can I interject with that question?
Not yet, sir.
No,
You will
I'm
have
gonna
your
forget
chance.
it if I don't mention it right now, so would it be okay? I agree with what he's
No,
saying.
I'm sorry, it can't. You will have your chance to speak, both pro and con. You will have your chance.
That's what I was trying to establish, is what you knew and when you knew it, and you already said
I was-
you did not know.
I did not know I did not know the width of the driveway or any of that, no. I mean, a two-car garage, that's what I did, you know?
Gentlemen, more questions? Comments? So you yourself did not go at any time, so we're absolutely crystal clear on this, any time to the town, to Mr. Semino, or to anyone saying, is he doing the right thing, or checking on him, or his foreman, to see if they're within the variance. These are very, very common variances for contractors to know. They know they have to
Right.
check.
No, I personally
Yeah,
did not go
that's what
to,
I'm
I only went to
asking
Ken when I heard there was a problem and about the driveway.
Could you drill down a little bit for me on that conversation? Mr. Semino seemed to, what I took from it was that he was giving a little warning before you signed off with the lender and everything, that if you did do that, you might go on the hook for it. Can you tell me more about the contract?
I just called him and asked him what the issue was with my builder, because I guess my builder approached him
Right.
About the flood cert.
about what, yeah,
You and
about,
I specifically called about flood cert.
yeah, I wasn't there, so, who, you
No,
and I?
you and I.
Oh,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
flood certification.
Yeah, flood
Yeah.
certificate, yeah, that was not really in regards to this, though.
No,
Right.
that's what you and I
Yeah,
talked about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and we had an issue with the flood, the AC unit having to be a certain height.
Okay, but going back to this.
Yeah.
And the sidewalk that appeared in the driveway is poured too wide.
Yeah,
Did it seem to you like you were given warning that if you signed off, you'd be on the hook for it?
well, he just said the builders could not, could back out of this and I would be responsible, yeah.
So he said the builders couldn't back out of it and you'd be responsible for it?
Yeah, and when we applied for the variance hearing, but at that time, I could only apply for the variance hearing because I didn't have time to hire a contractor, come in, rip out the driveway, because my loan was
Is it
maturing and I
fair
had
to
to sign.
characterize the conversation as he was warning you that you'd be on the hook for this or responsible for the cost?
Yes, yeah.
And this is why we do not like to issue temporary certificates of occupancy. It's not because we're trying to hold you up or to be obstructive. It's really for your protection as a homeowner.
Right.
Because once the bank signs that and gives you the check, you've just let them off the hook for anything that is not code compliant.
Well, that's not, yeah, I mean, he'd have to take action against them if he wanted
Yes.
to pursue it.
Which again, is the last thing I wanna do, I could see if somebody had a problem, like, in the neighborhood with the driveway, it looked out of form, but I personally don't believe it does. A lot of people in my neighborhood seem to agree, nobody really seems to have a problem, and, I'm hoping to get approved for the variance so we don't have to go down that road of hiring more contractors, waiting to get the permanent CO. It's just kind of an inconvenience, and again, this is my first time building a house. I did not go through and measure the driveway afterwards. To be honest, if there was an issue after the driveway was poured, I wish I had known a few months before, but I guess, as Ken said, that's not protocol, and they don't inspect every part of the job.
Yeah,
So-
sir, I'm very sympathetic to you, please hear that.
Yeah.
But what was your rationale after being warned by Mr. Semino this could be a consequence to accept the risk?
Well, it was the only option I had. I had to apply for a variance to get the temporary CO. I didn't have time to wait because my loan at the bank I had 7 days to sign.
So you're saying you accepted the risk?
Yeah, I did accept the risk, yeah.
Ken, can I ask a question about, in your conversation with the builder, what was his rationale as to why he did these things?
I didn't talk to the builder about the driveway or the sidewalk, I actually didn't know about that. I talked to him in the parking lot. He was sitting in the parking lot waiting for Ray to come back. And we talked a little bit about the flood certification. We didn't have the flood cert. And, you know, I'm like, I can't help you. There's nothing in the code that says builder makes a mistake, thou shalt get a variance. I mean, it's literally what I said to him. You know, I don't know what to tell you. We can't give you the temp CO. My conversations with them centered around the flood cert. Then I later learned about the sidewalks and the driveway. I'm like, we can't give you the temp CO unless you have the flood cert. I'm like, and the flood cert's as simple as getting your surveyor out there and shooting I think it was the AC units or something at the time. Getting an elevation on them to make sure they're +2 BFE. I'm like, and then it's a couple keystrokes on in the CAD program and it's done.
I guess this is the first time I've ever experienced a situation where a builder actually did more than was required. Usually it's the other way around. So,
And it puts you in a very difficult situation.
Right.
You know, and the other thing, Mr. Simoneau, that you mentioned, this is old, what I call Old Town or historic Ocean View.
Yeah, they're in that Old Town.
Where the house next to you may have been built in 1930. And there weren't variants, there weren't, you know, there was not the expansion of the area as there is now with the rules.
There probably weren't even any zoning rules in Ocean View at that time.
There probably weren't, yeah. So, should we continue,
Well,
Madam
do you have
Solicitor?
anything else you want to say? Because the next point will be for public comment, and this gentleman can speak, and whoever else wants to speak.
No, I don't.
And you can come back and speak.
Yeah, you
correct?
can
Okay.
come back and speak when they're
Yes.
done if you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Okay.
I'd like to say a couple things in regards.
Sir, can you come up to the microphone? You have to come up to the
Okay.
microphone.
You have to be sworn in.
We're having a public hearing with the public records. I just need you to say your name and your address.
My name is John DeCanio. I'm at 12 Tingle Street, which is a couple of houses over.
Okay.
So I watched the
And
whole thing.
Mr. Canio, do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth before the board today?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So I watched the whole thing. This just seems very peculiar to me because I know about the old variances that really weren't intact 10 years ago, whatever it was, 9 years ago. The point of the matter is, I think that the builder kind of went above and beyond, and he actually thought, from what I can tell through this conversation now at this stage, that he was actually doing something more. If you look at it aesthetically, it looks very, very perfect. And it looks like it fits in really, really well. Now, the builder is Brazilian, okay? I think he's an artist. This is my observation. So I think he built it, and I know you discussed this with him, and I know you've probably had some disagreements with him, but it looks very, very beautiful. And I mean, I think he was actually trying to enhance the situation and try to make the homeowner happy. That's from what I can see. Right? So if you look at it, I think you'll look at it and say, God, this looks like it belongs there. And I don't know about the sidewalk, but I think I get the direct feeling that he put that in because he goes, boy, this needs something on the side. So I think that's what you're getting. You're actually getting more than, I don't think the builder looked at this in a bad way. I think he was probably being really nice and gave extra. So that was the main thing when you said that. I mean, yeah, we're kind of complaining about something that I think he thought was, like a work of art type of thing. And I don't know if it's 10%, 5%, 4.6%. I think sometimes we get a little outlandish with some of these things. Now, I don't know who came up with the variance and what it is proportionally on the land and whatever. But like if you look 7 houses down the street and you see nothing but a driveway that's pure concrete, and then you look at this and you say, Now, that was done right. Was the other one done right? No. Was there a variance then? No. Was there a variance now? Yes. Are you gonna, I don't wanna say prosecute, but are you gonna hold me in penalty? And I'm talking for my son here, so he probably wants to shoot me right now. But the bottom line is, if you look at it, it looks really proportional. Better than the things that were done with no variance. So that's my issue with it. I don't know if anybody's seen it. Has anybody gone there and looked at it? No?
I have,
Sir? Anybody look at it? I think you need to look at it. I really think you need to look at it, because once you look at it and you're going, this looks great. And I really honestly think that the builder probably did more than he had to. The funny thing is, I worked with this guy on my house on some things, and he didn't charge me for a bunch of stuff on purpose, because he thought he was getting extra. So I tend to agree with what you were saying. You know, we're kind of like bringing up a point that doesn't, it's kind of, I feel it's a waste of time, and I don't want to waste your time, but I think you should go look at it and see what you think.
Well, it's not so much a matter of looking at it, and I understand completely your thoughts that it looks nice. It's the problem was, what's going to happen the next time that he builds and somebody does not say?
I think
But
now you have,
But you understand
I
what
understand
I'm
that,
saying.
and I think-
In Old Town, it's very different.
okay, I understand that. I totally understand that. And I think, listen, it's not a big town here, okay? I mean, how stringent can you be? Can you get out there every time they do something? Because the other thing that annoyed me, and I found this out, okay, well, you can't have that air conditioning unit in the bottom. Now, why are they telling him this in the 9th hour, where he has to close?
they, sir?
Otherwise his interest rate would have went up another half a point. But go ahead.
Who is they, sir? You said.
I don't know, the town, or Ken,
It's
or...
on the approved site plan,
Okay, so my question
Let me
is,
finish.
why wasn't it looked
Let
at
me-
3 months ago?
Let me finish.
3 months ago?
Let me finish. The approved site plan shows that everything, structures, mechanicals, have to be BFE +2. Base flood elevation +2,
Okay.
okay?
You're talking soup and nuts here, because I'm not an engineer. I'm a common sense person. Okay? My question is, he has to close on a loan. All right? That air conditioner has been in that position for 3 months.
We don't know what the, we
Mr.
don't know what the,
Piano, the town does not know that. When you hire a builder needs to come and construct houses.
But shouldn't it-
Excuse me, sir, let me finish. A builder needs to construct houses in accordance with the code. Okay, that is what we expect when a builder comes to the town of Ocean View. Okay, so it's the town, all the town has to do is go out there, they get the final site plan and they inspect it. That's what the town regulations require.
When does the town inspect it?
But when they come for a certificate of occupancy.
So the town never looks at,
nope,
Who-
Sussex County does the inspections. They do your
Okay.
footer, framing and final.
who does the electrical inspection?
Sussex
I
County.
don't know. Who does the plumbing?
Sussex County.
Okay, so Sussex County should have warned the builder.
No, that's Sussex
No?
County, when they do a plumbing or an electrical inspection, sir, they're only there to.
What about the AC?
The inspection.
Did you have an
I
elevation?
don't, I'm not involved. I'm
Well,
just
you seem to
saying.
be involved, so I'm asking you a question. You just
Okay.
asked me a
I-
question, so let me finish.
Go ahead.
Did you say, when did you know? You know how when did we know it wasn't 2 feet above base flood elevation? When we got the elevation certificate and it showed the elevation of the mechanicals. That's when we know. You cannot walk out to a site and look at something and tell whether it's at elevation 7, elevation 9, or elevation 6
Okay, that's not my
with
point.
the naked eye.
That's not my point. The unit, as there is in most of our communities, okay? I guarantee half the people here still have their unit underneath. I do, okay?
That's-
And, well, how am I supposed to know what the rules are? unless the inspector or the county or the, whoever it is, the city, I don't know, I'm asking you
It's in the
guys.
county code. I mean,
Oh.
in the city code.
Okay, but he finds this out
That is the responsibility
a day or
of the
two,
builder.
or a day or two,
Responsibility of your builder. Ignorance
Responsibility
is
of the
not an
builder.
excuse.
excuse me?
Ignorance on your
It's
builder's
not
part
ignorance,
is
it's not
an
ignorance.
excuse.
It's 3 months that that unit was underneath. He can't go to closing. Nobody inspected it or told him about it. Nobody told the builder.
Are we even?
How are they supposed to
We're
know?
not even asking for variance for the air conditioner. So that what?
I understand that, I'm
Mr.
using that as a
Canio,
reference.
That's fine, but that's
Okay.
irrelevant. Did I pronounce your name incorrectly?
No, I don't,
It-
that's not an issue.
But that's not an issue before the Board of Adjustment, and I do understand your frustration, and I understand you're upset for your son. I get all of that, I do get it. But that's
But
relevant to this conversation.
I'm looking at this as an auditor, okay? My background in the old days was auditing, okay? You look at something and you go, check, the plumbing's
All right,
good.
Mr. Kenny,
I-
typically you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, well, I'll leave,
Okay.
okay?
You don't need to
Because
leave.
I'm a little aggravated because nobody's even looked at the thing. None of you here have looked at it. I'm taking a little bit of a,
Their job is to see whether or not it was built in compliance with the code,
I understand that.
okay? That's their job.
But people, you know, common sense, that's all. If you looked at this thing and you see it, you go, you know what, this looks pretty good.
Can I ask a quick question here about this in regard to variance and maybe the 30-second from 30,000 feet up response? The codes were changed in 2013, you said, to
2012,
2012,
2013,
okay.
some 2015.
And obviously, there was a reason that occurred at that time.
Good question.
Could you give us some background in terms of, because I think some of the things that we're talking about here are apples and oranges. I mean, we're going back to the old days where there was no variance and it was the Wild West. Now we've got a variance. What's the reasoning?
Well, the variance is needed because what was constructed is not code compliant.
So Ken, let me ask you a question, and maybe this will help Mr. Kenny understand. Why do we have the coverage requirement? How much a home can cover a parcel? What's the origin of that?
The origin for the impervious lot coverage is so that rainwater can infiltrate into the ground at an acceptable level and drain into the ground instead of running off on an impervious surface and carrying pollutants into the bay, water of the U.S., the White Creek, so on and so forth.
And what's the how do we arrive at the driveway width and those type of things? How did we establish those?
I was not here when that code was changed,
Okay.
so I do not know how they arrived at 20-foot maximum. I could speculate, but I would strictly be speculating.
And what's your speculation?
My speculation is that they wanted to limit, there were a lot of homes that had 2 entrances on the lots with curved driveways. You actually have one, I think.
Well, mine's just a curve and
Yeah.
I find out I don't even own half of it, so
Yeah.
it doesn't, you know, I don't
Yeah.
care.
I hear a lot of it was to eliminate having all this extra width. I really don't know. I was
And part
not
of that
here.
is not having 2 entrances because we have so much traffic now, and we're trying to
You
limit
try to
the access
consolidate access to and from our roadways.
to or from our roadways, correct? Okay, so I just kind of wanted you to understand the origins of the
And-
statute.
I want to say to Mr. DeCanio, we really got way further away from this than we needed to. The home is beautiful, and it looks very nice, and the builder did a wonderful job. The problem at hand is, there are 2 features that are not code compliant, and that's the
Well,
problem.
let me-
And it doesn't matter whether it looks beautiful, or whether it looks like a rat trap, or whatever. What matters is whether it's code compliant, or whether it's not code compliant.
So can there be an exception made for that?
Well, let me respond to that on that part. And I know on this board, our goal is whenever a variance comes, just because someone else is using old code as an argument, their driveway is much bigger, then we have to take this into consideration. And I know every person that comes, we look at it individually. But somebody's gonna come and build another house, 5 doors down, 3 blocks away, it doesn't matter, and do the same thing. And when they do, they're gonna come back and point to your house, your son's house, and say, that was out of compliance and you approved it. Granted, we look at it individually, but the same token, that puts pressure back on us because we didn't follow the code along the way. So that's an issue that we have.
I understand that, okay? What I don't understand is how the process could have been probably avoided throughout the end of this
I
thing,
think
because
that's a
it was
question
like
for-
that.
That's a question for your builder. That is
Okay.
a question for the builder. The builder has the responsibility.
I
And I
think-
get that your son trusted his builder, and and probably would have done the same thing. I'm not gonna argue that point.
Sure.
But the reality is, he messed up. And because he messed up, he's created a problem here. And that's why I went back when your son
Sure,
first started speaking. To me, he is the one responsible for this problem. He is the one that needs to correct it.
This is going to be one last statement, because you're way over your 3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. My point is, I really would appreciate if you would go out there and look at it, okay? And then you make a determination based on, you know what? This is not intrusive. This actually looks beautiful, okay? And I think that builder felt that way. This guy is a real heartfelt guy.
Feelings are not interested. Okay.
The
so
what?
Feelings are not the problem here. So just.
But common sense is.
Okay, then that is the end of your statement, and we appreciate your statement. We understand what you've said. We need to hear from other people.
That's fine.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, please come forward and be sworn in.
I'm a neighbor.
And sir, would you please?
I
state
just
your-
have a question for,
You have to raise your hand and be sworn
Wait a
in, sir.
minute, but first of all, can you state your name and your address for the
my
record?
name is Michael Moisey. I'm at 38 Hudson Avenue,
Thank you, Mr.
just 2 doors from him.
And do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth before the board today?
I'm sorry?
Do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth?
Absolutely.
All right,
I
thank you,
haven't
sir.
got my hearing aid in today, okay? Sir, my question is for you. There's a house down on Tingle Street. Runs off of Hudson Avenue at the end, the very last house. That house had the same kind of hearing. I wasn't there, and I'm not prepared to give names or addresses or anything, but his driveway was extended. It's still extended, sir. Did he get a variance?
I have no idea.
Well, we have to find out.
His variance has nothing to do with your variance.
Well, in other words, if that guy got a variance,
I don't know the
yeah, but I
particulars
think
of
they
his-
should know whether he got a variance.
I don't know the
But
particulars
you're
of his
just
case.
You're asking the question, sir, and that of a matter that's not before the board, so there's no way that. Mr.
Well, I just
Sherrod-
want you to be aware of it, okay? It happened just right down the street from us. And that driveway is still there like it was. So I take it, got variance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward.
I'm Priscilla Shively. I live at 36 Hudson Avenue, right next to his house. And
And
I
you
just
swear
want
to
to,
tell the truth today?
Hmm?
You swear to tell the truth today?
oh,
Please raise your hand.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
okay, thank you.
And I think it looks fine, it looks beautiful, they're a nice family, and I think it looks nice just the way it is. That's all I have to say.
And is there anyone else that wants to come forward? Please come forward. Raise your hand, please. State your name.
Susan Anthony.
And do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
I'm a neighbor,
Mr. Anthony, can you also state your address?
12 Tingle Street.
Yeah, thank you.
I live with Mr. DeCanio.
Okay.
I'm an
Can we ask you
architect.
to speak up just a little bit louder?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm an architectural designer, so I've done a lot of construction, sea to shining sea, and also in Japan. A lot of places that have problems with water, like Florida, Japan especially. So every community does handle it differently, but we're talking 4% here. We're not talking 20% over or 30. Another thing is most processes, you never expect the rooster and then to guard the hen house, right? So builders can't self-govern. In most communities, you would know about this way before they were even in the house. I've never actually worked in a community, and I've worked in many in this country, where it's come this far in, they're actually in the house. But you represent the community. He's a member of the community, and this is a real financial burden for a young couple to have to now redo this for 4%. We're talking 4%. We're not talking a big percentage here. I understand about flooding, but it just seems to me that you could grant this for him. You know, you should be on his side, irrespective of anyone making a mistake, and anyone can make a mistake. Developers make mistakes every day. I work with a lot of developers on sizes. I like to be precise when I'm working with clients because I work for clients. I don't work for the town. I don't work for, you know, I don't usually work for the builder. I'm usually working for the customer who's buying it. So we all try to protect the customer as much as possible. In this case, they're young. They hired a builder. They didn't hire an architect or a designer. They don't know how to read plans. So I'm asking you, that's not unusual. Most people can. So I'm just asking you to please think of that when you're making your vote, because I think this is a variance you can approve. And I don't think that it would be easy for anyone in this town to calculate coverage for someone else. That would take a professional to come around and calculate, right? So I don't think that's a problem. So I'm just asking you to please, for your forbearance.
The builder is the professional, in my opinion, in this case. He's the one, or they're the ones, that should have known what the lot percentage coverage was, what the driveway code is. That's the professional in your statement, in my opinion.
I know, but they don't self-govern, and he made a mistake. People make mistakes all the time, but it's not a significant mistake. He didn't make a significant mistake. This is a very safe house. And I understand flooding, I understand the rules. I think in this area, you guys have the rules, right? You could make the rules. You could say everybody has to have permeable pavement. That's not a bad idea. I like permeable pavement, but you don't have that rule. So for now, I think I'm just asking you if you could please grant them this variance. Thank you. And thank you for your service, and congratulations.
And before you leave, I would just like the record to show that we are not against or for either one. We are here to find out what is happening and how we can do with that within the rules of the coding and within the rules of what the contractor's responsibility is and what the owner's responsibility is.
Right. But I don't think anybody did this maliciously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this wasn't like somebody, you know, saying what the hell, or, you know, they're not like that. I mean, this wasn't like that. So I'm just asking you as a board if you could just grant them the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
So, Madam Chair, I do want to read into the record some documents that we got. The town clerk asked me to read in the record. We've got a number of people who submitted letters regarding this application. We have one, and I'm sorry, I cannot read the handwriting, but it was 29 Hudson Avenue, and I'm not going to read these all verbatim because we'd be here all night, but it just this one gentleman says they have no issue and are happy to, with the variance, and they're happy to have the DeCanios in their neighborhood. One is from John DeCanio, who we gather tonight is the applicant's dad as well, who also lives on 12 Tingle Street. and he is in favor of the variance. We have one from Velma Klein, who lives at 38 Hudson Avenue, and she says we have no objections to the variance. We have one from Priscilla. Anybody know your neighbor Priscilla? She's from 36. I can't read her handwriting, I'm sorry.
She's right here in front of the
Oh, Priscilla, hi, sorry, I didn't see that. Priscilla, what's your last name? Shively, I'm sorry, I couldn't read your handwriting, and I write like a doctor, so no offense. So Ms. Shively was here, and she also testified. We have one from the Pearsons at 3 Tingle Street, and they say they have no objection. We have one from Thomas, I can't read his handwriting, at 6 Tingle Street. And he says we have come to the conclusion that the driveway and sidewalk have no effect on us. He said that we stand on their side of the hearing. We have one from Lisa Asbill, and she is at 40 Hudson Avenue, and she says they're happy to support the request for a variance. And then we have one from Will Melton at 7 Hudson Avenue, and he says they have no objections to the variance. So for the record, these are all the letters that are for your consideration as well.
Terrific. Okay. Gentlemen, any other
So I'm
questions?
going to give it back to you for the record.
Quick question, we're gonna do each, when we vote, we're gonna do each variance one at a time?
You can ask that to Madam Solicitor,
Yeah.
what she wants to do.
Are we gonna vote on them combined or one at a time, for example, the sidewalks?
The question, in case you cannot hear it, the question is, are we going to vote on it as one package deal, or are we going to vote on it as sidewalk here and driveway over here, as two different issues?
It's actually lot coverage.
Lot
So-
coverage?
so-
Lot
Okay.
coverage exceeding 35% is variance number 1. Variance number 2 is the driveway width.
Okay, thank you.
You can do it any way you want, and, you know,
Gentlemen, 2 or 1, the lot coverage or the variance for the sidewalk?
the application was for both.
Yes, both,
Okay, the
yes.
application was for
You
both.
both.
So, you know, do you want them do you want them to consider them independently or as one?
Okay. All right,
We
gentlemen.
have time for more comments?
Yes, any more?
Do you want them, Ken, should they be do you,
I think they should be done independently. I mean, if you do it all as one, you get one shot for a yes or one shot for a no. If you do it independently, then you may get one thing, not the other, or you may get them both. I think it's better for you to do it independently.
okay.
I would just like to make a comment for the record.
Certainly, Mr.
I've been on this board, I don't know how many years I've been on
About
this
6
board.
years.
6 years. And so we've seen a lot of these requests. And my experience is, as often as not, we're dealing with something a builder did, and we're dealing then with a homeowner who has got a big problem that he or she just inherited because the builder didn't know what the rules were, or didn't bother to find out, or didn't care. And these are very troubling cases to deal with. But my observation here is that there are certain requirements to grant a variance, and I'm not seeing any exceptional practical difficulty here, except for the man-made practical difficulty that the builder overbuilt. So I'm frustrated by the fact that this homeowner would like to have some relief, but it doesn't, to me, feel like the requirements for approving a variance are here. And I just want to state that for the record.
Can I make a
Certainly.
about whether we vote 1 or 2? Ken, if we take this individually, if my understanding is correct, the driveway is 6% over. So if we, let's say,
The combination of the driveway and the sidewalk
yeah,
add up to 4.9%.
both of it?
Yes,
Okay, I'm looking here, it says 6% for the driveway and 1% for the walkway.
no, that was when you're looking at the approved site plan.
Got it.
And the driveway made up 6% of
That was.
the 35%. And the walkway, which is the walkway that goes from the driveway to the front door, that made up 1%.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion if I could.
Okay.
I move to deny the variance for the lot coverage. There's no exceptional practical difficulty. The difficulty was caused by the builder, the applicant. The applicant was given a warning, as the testimony indicated. He chose to accept the risk.
I wasn't given a warning. This is my only option to apply for a variance. I had no time, I could not.
Okay, yeah.
He would have lost 30 grand if he didn't close on the house. 30 grand.
Okay,
Let's,
Thank-
can
And can I say one more
can we
thing?
table that? Can we back up a minute?
Sure.
and Ken, when you get
Before you
done,
vote.
when you get done, we're gonna, after that, we're gonna let him say one more
Yeah.
thing, and then we're gonna close the public hearing, okay? We're gonna close.
This goes back to Greg's question, okay? So, under the proposed conditions before they built, okay? The driveway made up 6%, driveway and walkway is made up 7%. After they constructed the driveways and walkways ended up being 10.7%. So the driveways and walkways ended up increasing the lot coverage by 3.7%. The dwelling unit, as proposed, ended up making up 28%. The dwelling unit, as built, made up 29.2%, so that increased 1.2%. The dwelling unit ended up being somehow a little bigger, or maybe the engineer's calculations were off. So there's where your breakdown is.
So it's less than 4%?
It's 4.9%. It's 3.7 and 1.2. So there's your breakdown from pre.
Into post. Okay.
Okay, all right. Mr., you're gonna speak, and this is gonna be your last
Yeah,
comment,
fine.
or
Yeah.
cover the.
I understand, when you said why the variants were introduced in 2013 to prevent people from having a second entrance to their driveway and whatnot. That's not what I'm doing here, obviously. We're talking about
Speculating.
less than 5%, right? Oh, yeah, you were speculating on your answer why it was introduced, but we're talking about less than 5% coverage. And like I said, if you come look at the house, it looks great. I do not think my builder did it on purpose. It was it was an accident. If I would understand if it was 20%, if I was asking for a much greater area.
You need to convince them, honey, I'm the attorney, so these are the
Yeah,
people that are gonna vote.
Okay, well, I'm speaking to
Yeah,
everybody, I'm
yes.
just looking, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is we're talking less than 5%, and then I'm gonna have to hire somebody, tear out all that concrete, apply again to get my CO. It's just kind of an inconvenience for me. I just moved to this town from out of state. I built a house. I have a young child. My wife and I are, we just bought, moved down here, built this house, and I'm having to go through this over 5%. My only option at the time was to apply for a variance. Okay, I asked them, what are my options here? I had one option was to have someone come in there, cut out all the concrete, reshoot an elevation certificate, which would have taken probably a month to do. I had 7 days, and then the other option I was given was, well, just apply for a variance. So that's what I
Who
did.
gave you that option?
I called the town and spoke with him, Greg,
So he made you aware of the problem. So Greg,
a week before.
okay, but
Yeah.
Greg gave you the heads up a week before.
No, a week before my loan is closed, and I have to
A
go
week
and
before.
sign, yeah.
Right.
So
Okay?
I think the point you're trying to make, you had a
I had a week to get all of this done.
And what you're saying is that you basically had a deadline on your loan.
Yes.
For your construction loan.
Correct.
And in order to meet that construction loan deadline.
Yeah.
And
I had to have a CO,
right.
which
So,
couldn't get.
just so the board knows, and I'm sure most of you know this if you own a house, usually when you get a loan, you have a deadline by which they'll honor the loan. And if you don't close by that time.
It was a $30,000 penalty.
Well, yeah, there is either a penalty to extend the rate or they make you reapply. So that's what he's discussing.
So at that time, my only option was, I didn't have a month. If I had known about this 3 months ago, which honestly, this is my first time building a house, I was under the impression that the town comes out and inspects the house throughout the process. He made it clear today that, and you guys, that's not how it works. I was under the impression that's what goes on. In other places that I've lived, that's what happens. That someone inspects. If I had known 4 months ago and I had time to rip out the driveway, fix it, shoot the elevation certificate, I wouldn't be in this predicament. Okay, my biggest issue was, and when you say I accepted the risk, yes, I did, but that's the only option I had was either to pay and go for a variance hearing, or be fined $30,000 and go over, past my deadline, which I don't have $30,000.
But you did have a choice.
I didn't have a choice.
You did or didn't?
No, my choice was either get penalized
I understand
$30,000.
one's on.
Yeah, I had a choice. Be penalized $30,000 or apply for a variance hearing and come in here, present my case, and honestly, 5% coverage of lot coverage is what we're asking for. It's not, in my opinion, I don't think it's, anything crazy. If it was 20%, I could understand the issue, okay? If my house looked out of character compared to the other houses on the street, I would understand. It looks great, I don't have two entrances and whatnot. We're talking about 3 feet of driveway on each side. It's 5%. So, and I'm sorry if I'm frustrated because, the last thing I want to do is go through the building process again, hire contractors, hope they do it right, and,
I understand your frustration.
Right.
And I'm sympathetic. I hear what you say. I do. Okay? But at the end of the day, I'm having trouble getting past the point that you were given a heads up.
What do you consider like a reasonable heads up? I was given a week. And can you get somebody out to that house, cut all the driveway out, and get an elevation cert redone in a week?
Well, here's what I
No, you can't.
Listen, yeah, it's irrelevant what I would or wouldn't do in the circumstance. You're the one on the hook of this. At the end of the day, you acknowledge you had a choice, you accepted the risk, and the outcome may not be.
Let's say that I didn't really have a choice. My choice was to apply for a variance. I didn't think a variance for 5% would be that big of an issue. I thought that at that time that was the smartest choice to make, and I think you would have made the same choice, or all, most of you would have.
It's irrelevant again what I would do, but
Right.
I would think a serious conversation between you and the builder would have happened when you realized your house was not built in conformance with the approved plans.
But we're talking days, a couple days. Yes, I agree with you. If it was 4 months prior when the driveway was poured, the driveway's been sitting there for 5 months. And I didn't go out there with a tape measure. I don't read site plans. I'm not the builder. I'm not an engineer.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I'm upset because this is going to come out of my pocket to fix this. And again, if it was 10, 15, 20%, I would understand. Okay, okay. If my neighbors didn't have, and I know you can't. It was back then in the Wild West, like you said. 50-foot driveways, 30-foot driveways up and down my street. The house does not look abnormal or out of place.
No one's suggesting otherwise. I'm not.
So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen,
All right, so just for the
Excuse me,
record,
go ahead.
all the
Excuse me.
testimony,
just,
No, I'm asking the motion.
does anybody have any more questions?
No.
No, all right, then we're gonna close the public hearing. Okay.
then a motion needs to be made.
John?
So let me tell you, your options are you can accept, you can table it, or you can deny. And then if you want to address them separately, you can address each variance separately.
Madam Chair, I move to deny both variance requests. There's no, again, as for my previous stated reasons, there's no special exception or exceptional practical difficulty for the homeowner. It was caused by the builder. The homeowner was given a heads up.
Second.
Okay, it's all in favor?
Aye.
So it, so it passed
Yes,
all
yes.
five?
No.
Okay, so the vote failed.
Are we doing it individually? Or everybody said no?
No, they made a motion they chose not to. So they're,
You asked me if I wanted to.
and they chose not to. Do you want them to vote on, do you want to vote on them separately?
Sure.
All right, so
All right,
make,
so just
let's
redo
redo it. Make the first motion, make a
Sure.
motion.
The first motion I make is to deny the request for variance for lot coverage, based on the previously stated rationale. There's no exceptional practical difficulties. The builder did not build the site plan, was caused by the builder. The problem was caused by the builder at the end of the day. The homeowner was aware, although he is not happy about the amount of time he had to react to the warning, but he was given a warning. And the consequences are the variance is being denied, or request is being made to deny the variance.
Second.
No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is this a real detriment to the community?
This, Sir, Mr. Tacania, the public hearing
I
is
was
closed.
wrong,
Mr.
that's what
Tacania, the
these
public
meetings
hearing
are
is
for,
closed.
correct? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a common
Mr.
sense person.
Tacanio, the public meeting is closed, sir. You had your
Okay.
opportunity to speak.
I request that every one of these folks go out and look at this thing, okay? And I want you to identify the 4.9%. I think it's totally ridiculous,
The meeting is
and
finished.
The public hearing
this is not,
Ross, guys, the public hearing is closed. The
Yeah,
public hearing is
the
closed.
public is over.
I just want to say
You
one
can
thing.
comment.
The public hearing is closed. The public
It's
hearing is
over,
closed.
okay? As long as you got something.
Friday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
I guess Daniel Street is no issue.
I'm very disappointed, folks. Very disappointed. You're gonna hear from my lawyer now.
Conversation you had with my builder and all that. You have a card?
Pick a number.
All right, so wait a minute, guys.
Wait,
We're
we
gonna
have- we have-
go, the public hearing is not done.
We haven't adjourned the meeting yet.
We're not done with the meeting,
We have
please.
not adjourned the meeting yet.
We still have to vote on the other issue.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'll give you a card, hold on. They need to finish what they're doing.
Even though they met
We still have to vote, yes.
on which issue?
And the second.
On the second variance request.
Second variance request is the sidewalk, correct,
Sidewalk,
Ken?
right.
No,
Second variance was.
driveway.
Driveway, I'm sorry, driveway. Lot
Excuse
coverage.
me. All right,
The driveway
Guys.
line is 20 feet.
Excuse me, guys.
excuse us, guys. Excuse us. All right, Mr. Simneo, can you please tell them the second variance issue that we need to hold a vote on?
Second variance was for the driveway of a width greater than 20 feet, but at the right of way,
All right, and they were asking for a variance of how much?
6.5 feet.
So the board needs to determine whether they're gonna grant a variance for the 6.4 feet for the driveway.
Correct.
Madam Chair, I make the motion
Certainly.
to deny the variance for the driveway based on my previous stated rationale.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried. Now,
Sorry.
I need a
And
motion.
just so you know, I had 3 days.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is-
So, okay, okay.
So,
you can